Hello. I wanted to do a video about my Native American history and what evidence there is for it, so that that evidence can be preserved. Whatever evidence there is, or uh, lack of evidence there is, will be presented in this video as far as what I have. Now, the main evidence that I have to support Native American ancestry is photographs and oral history passed down through the lineage. So, this is my grandmother, Annis McKinney Clemens. Okay. She was born April 2nd, 1886, and died October 12th, 1964. Here is a picture of Rebecca McKinney, one of Annis's sisters. It says here that she walked Red Lick Mountain Road barefoot. If she had a cold, she would wade in a pond of ice water and it would cure her. And she was very mean, and she told Annis's daughter that one of her grandchildren wouldn't live to be old because she was too puny and didn't weigh enough, and hurt my Aunt Dovey's feelings. And so she didn't care what she had to say, based on reports that I've heard. And Granny Annis had a daughter named Mary Alice McKinney, and everybody called her Pick. And she, in my opinion, looks very Native American. This is a picture of Annis's daughter. And I also have a picture here of another sister of Grandma Annis. Oh. Now, to me, she is dressed like she is trying to look white, but I've always heard that high cheekbones was a sign of Indian heritage, and to me, it looks like she's got very high cheekbones. Like, even though she's dressed the way she is, you can still spot some Native American lineage in there somewhere, I think. So if you couldn't read the card, I'll read it to you. It says Rachel J. Ellen McKinney, born October 1849. So I contacted my first cousin, David Chrisman. Big shout out to him for helping me with this research and providing me with the information that he had. But he had his DNA analyzed by Ancestry.com and got a report. And it had no mention of Native American lineage in it. Everything came from Europe and Germany and places like that. So it looked like his ancestors, which me and him would definitely be direct descendants of Annis McKinney, his ancestors started migrating around 1700, and by 1775 they were all over here. So it looks like the majority of our ancestors were Pilgrim descendants. So, and then a few came over here between 1850 and 1900. So between 1775 and 1850, it took a break in people coming over here that we descend from. And then there might have been someone that came from California between 1900 and 1950. So I don't know who that would have been, unless I just was reading the information wrong. It might have been showing how our relatives dispersed. I'm not for sure about that. But I have Annis's genealogy chart from Ancestry.com. And I don't know how accurate this is because I don't know who posted it. Different people have different motivations for doing this type of research. The Mormon Church, they believe that if you can prove that you're related to someone, you can be baptized on their behalf. And if they choose to accept that baptism in the afterlife, they could possibly be saved even after death if you do that for them. So they have their own motivation. I'm not an expert on Mormonism, but they have that pressure on them to make connections between lineage and certain lines because of that. So I don't know who did the research, but some members of the Mormon Church, they really get into this genealogy stuff. Not only that, but there's certain lineages that can be traced back to the Mayflower, and certain lineages are recognized by the National Pilgrim Society. And if you can trace your lineage back to one of those lines, it makes your research a lot easier, and it's validated through the National Pilgrim Society. So some people try to trace their ancestry back to one of them lines, and they'll try to make connections where there aren't any. So there's lots of reasons why research can be incorrect. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. So it says here that Annis McKinney, her parents was Jacob McKinney and Isabel Moore. And Jacob McKinney, his parents was Michael McKinney and Rebecca Miller. And then her grandparents on her mother's side was William Philpott Wild Bill Moore and Sally Annis McQueen. So now this is her great grandparents. Michael McKinney, 1786 to 1850, 8, I believe I wrote down there. Martha Mary Polly Hines, 1784 to 1859. It didn't have Rebecca Miller's parents, so those two are missing. Then James Whitehead Moore, 1804 to 1891. Isabella McQueen, 1807 to 1833. John McQueen, 1800 to 1894. Rachel Sparks, 1813 to 1891. And then for great grandparents, there was Michael McKinney and Mary Mary Tucker, excuse me. So, is there any Native American lineage in here? Well, maybe. I don't know. The 3 Michael McKinneys in a row look suspicious to me. And I think maybe it's a possibility that if they were Native American, that all 3 of these Michael McKinneys could have changed their name to Michael McKinney at the same time. That looks like a possibility. They came from Pennsylvania, and they migrated down to Virginia and then into Jackson County, Kentucky. Now, I wondered, why would they move south to Virginia instead of going directly west? Well, they may have had an understanding of the geography around the area, and there may have been hostile Indians to the direct west, and that would have not liked people coming into their territory, even if they were Native American. So that could be it, why they moved south and then west. When did they come over here to Jackson County? To me, the magic year is 1820, because at first Michael McKinney was born in Virginia, and he could have been born during the trip. I don't know. So they could have now, what was going on in Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania, in 1776 in Philadelphia, that's where they signed the Declaration of Independence. So 1820, that would have been like 40 years after they signed the Declaration in Philadelphia. So if you were a Native American living in Pennsylvania during that time period, there probably was white people encroaching on your land. And in 40 years, they probably definitely felt unwelcome in their own lands. So, Michael McKinney, why would you change your name to that if you were Native American? Well, I've thought about that, and maybe it has something to do with the number of syllables in the name. Michael McKinney, that is 5 syllables. Let's look at some Indian names. Sacagawea, that's 5 syllables. Let's look at Pocahontas, that's 4 syllables. Let's look at Geronimo, that's 4 syllables. The only Indian name I can think of that doesn't have a lot of syllables in it is Squanto. That's just two. So that's just one example, but that may have came from a totally different tribe of people that didn't value the many syllable words. So, and then the other ones that didn't have a lot of syllables were renamed by white people, like Red Cloud or Sitting Bull. Those are all Americanized words for those Indian peoples. So that's just a theory of why that name may have been desirable if they were Native American. If my grandmother Annis and her family were not Native American, I believe there's strong evidence that they were living side by side and were influencing each other. My grandmother, Flora Alexander Clemens, she had an understanding of the cave systems in this area. She knew that certain caves that had Indians buried within them. And she would tell her grandchildren to stay out of those caves on their farm in Jackson County up there on Chestnut Flat. And Granny Annis knew herbs and medicinal herbs. So she was either knew this from information that had been passed down by her Native American ancestry, or they grew up beside Indians that showed them how to live and that knowledge. Either way, there is strong evidence that there was Native American association going on, either biologically or culturally, in the mountains of Appalachia. And regardless of whether or not our family has Native American ancestry, we can be proud of where we came from, because if they entered into Jackson County in 1820 or possibly earlier, that was just a date I picked out in theory. Our family was one of the first settlers in the Jackson County area, and we are definitely pioneers in this area. So I'm happy with the research I've found out so far. To me, I feel that regardless, I love the skin I'm in, and whether it's true or not true, it doesn't matter, because I'm happy being me. So continue your research out there. I hope that this helped you. I hope that you enjoyed the pictures, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.